Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, the series where I plan on reviewing every single album from the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. And today we are looking at Fats Domino's 1956 album, This Is Fats. This Is Fats was released under the Imperial label with producers Dave Bartholomew, art direction uncredited, nationality USA, and a running time of 24 minutes. Now, in all honesty, before I get this review on the road, I thought I would bring up the fact that there is a bit of a consistency, that's not a word, consistency that seems to have run amok here, because the album I am looking at, This Is Fats, was released the same year as another album from Fats Domino called This Is Fats Domino, which has a cover of this. However, the one in the book here has the cover here, this pink colored one, which has the cute little hat on the piano and a Fats little body. But the thing is that even though it has this cover in the book and this one here with the pink cover is This Is Fats, the track listing that's shown in this book belongs to This Is Fats Domino. So they're different albums, but the book seems to have taken both of them and put them together. Do what you will with that information, but the album I am reviewing is the one with the pink cover, This Is Fats. And with that out of the way, even though these are different albums, I did give both a listen, although This Is Fats is the one I'm reviewing. Both of them still seem to have a lot of the same similarities, and so this review does technically count for both of them in a way. The biggest and most important thing for This Is Fats in this book is that this is the earliest example of rock and roll music ever made that's in this book. However, Elvis Presley's album does predate this one that I'm reviewing here, but still Fats Domino as a human being, as a general musician, predates even Elvis Presley as a rock and roll artist. So his importance and his significance is greatly influential and important to this book, and for music nerds obviously in general. And right off the bat with the first song here, the Rooster Song, you pretty much get the staples of rock and roll music, which takes the R&B genre and jazz and really fuses the two together and creates a bit more of a ferocious type of style, which even though in today's world might not seem that compelling or interesting, at the time this was groundbreaking stuff and served as a huge and important milestone for rock music in general. And rock and roll as a genre starting off this early would go on to lay the groundwork for just tons of decades worth of music to come. If it wasn't for rock and roll, we wouldn't have classic rock or hard rock, which if we didn't have those, we wouldn't have, to some extent, some of the genres we got later, such as, for example, heavy metal or things that we listen to today. Rock really did start, in a way, at this point in time with rock and roll. And the Rooster Song, like I said, even though it may not seem like anything that important by today's standards, is still a pretty enjoyable track and definitely has lyrics that make this thing as entertaining as it is. It's quite comedic in its lyrical ability, but still very much engaging. It's a bit silly, but fun. The second song here, My Happiness, does slow things down from the first one, but still carries on the formula of classic rock and roll music, really focusing in on the fact that there's a slightly larger emphasis on, for example, percussion and horns, and the piano work as well throughout this song and entire album is greatly important to the work here, because Fats Domino as a piano player was quite magnificent, always working in the piano to most of his music. In fact, the third song, which is purely instrumental, as time goes by, really shows off the piano work, especially of Fats Domino. And even though I've only talked about 3 tracks here, I pretty much would continue to say the same thing over and over again throughout this album. It is a fairly short album at under 30 minutes, but even still at this only 24-minute runtime, you pretty much get the gist of rock and roll music condensed into that 24 minutes. Is it dated by today's standards? Sure. Is it incredibly influential and important? Definitely. This is very much an important milestone for music, and for that, it's definitely a worthy listen for any music nerd or fan of music in general, or for someone that wants to dive deeper into the history of rock and roll music. Because Fats Domino really was a pioneer of the genre and an incredibly important figure to music as a whole. His voice especially definitely keeps this album also from going stale, as his voice is quite passionate and soulful and enjoyable to the ear. There's never a moment where he feels as if his voice is annoying or grating. It is quite warm and just therapeutic as well. I think he really carries the emphasis of rhythm and blues quite well into the rock and roll genre. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this album, as it's not much deeper than that. With that all being said, the soft rating of this album came to a 7.8 out of 10, but I will harden that rating up to an 8 out of 10. And of course, as I've said, this album is incredibly influential, incredibly important to the history of music, and just an absolutely monumental album for how little it might seem in this day and age. It's still very important. So for that, obviously, it gets an E for essential. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this review. Let's go ahead and see what the next album we're listening to is in the 1001 albums to listen to before you die book. All right, random number generator, 1 to 1001, generate. 318 is the next album you're listening to, which is 318 being 10cc's Sheet Music. So go ahead and listen to that, and I'll review that in exactly 1 week from now. Anyways, if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe if you want to follow along and listen to every album from the 1001 albums to listen to before you die book. And as always, my name is Randy Joe, and I am signing off.